to be sharing with you the two big things you need to do to get more open at impact, and I'm going to give you some great drills to allow as well. So the first part, number one, to get more open, we have to shift our pressure early. Most amateur golfers shift their pressure way too late. Good golfers, elite golfers, shift their pressure early. And we talk about pressure rather than weight, because if you tell someone to move their weight, they tend to be thinking they're moving their whole mass, their whole body. We're talking about where you're applying force to the ground. So good players tend to get their peak amount onto their back foot. We call it their trail leg. So for me, my right leg, by the time they're about 3/4 of the way back, their lead arm is parallel to the ground. And as they finish the backswing, their pressure, their lower body is already starting to push down into their lead foot. So I'm going to share with you a drill to allow that. What I would like you to do as an exercise, and it does take a bit of coordination, is move your lead foot towards your trail foot. So they're just about a club's width apart. And we're just going to start with the club up and past the golf ball, just so we've got some momentum. And by the time we get to the feeling of halfway back, hands at about hip height, I want you to start to move your lead leg towards the target. And what you'll see there is my arms are still going back, even though my pressure is going forwards. So it does take a little bit of timing. And this is overdoing it a little bit, but most golfers wait to start to shift their pressure. It's got here somewhere, and they never really get enough onto that lead foot. If they don't get onto their lead foot, they can't rotate properly. You could, but look what happens. I'm on my back foot and I rotate my hips without shifting pressure. My weight's back and I'm throwing the club over the top of the golf swing. So we need a lateral bump forwards towards the target early in the downswing. So let me show you that exercise for first. So I'm really getting that feeling. I'm almost stomping my lead foot down and almost like I'm walking towards the target. So I'm starting to shift my pressure into that lead side. There has to be a lateral bump forwards towards the target. So we do need our hips to go forwards towards the target. So just a simple step exercise, even if you're doing that without the golf ball, get that feeling as arms are still going back, pressure is going forwards. Now you could even make some practice swings in a normal setup, getting that sensation. So hit your peak pressure here at about 3/4 of the way back, and as your arms finish, start to push a little bit into your lead foot. And I always love an exercise, if you're trying to push into your lead foot, of just putting half a tennis ball underneath that left heel. Well, left heel for me is a right-handed golfer, and press down, push down as we finish our backswing. Another exercise I love doing, and very, very easy to do, if you're off the turf, just push the alignment stick into the ground. If you're on the driving range, you need something to hold an alignment stick. It could even just be the range bucket. And the stick here, I've got this one, I've shortened the tour stick because I don't really want it much above my hip height. I don't want it digging in to my upper body, but it's just going to run by the outside edge of my lead leg. And I'm literally just trying to feel like I knock into it before I finish my backswing. So it's a good exercise to do. And then if you're videoing yourself from face on, you could just see at what point does my left hip hit that cane. So I'm going to set up to the ball. I'm going to put the cane in. Now, if anything, this is probably, that's okay. I was going to say probably a little bit too far from my left leg, but I've maybe left about an inch gap, a couple of centimetres. Okay, and I'm just trying to feel like as I complete my backswing, my hips are starting to go forwards into this cane. Let's give it a go. So, it's going to be a bump and a turn. So I'm feeling like a bump and then rotate, not rotating my hips here, which you can see is clearly throwing that club way over the top of the golf swing. Not as good a contact, but very conscious of that movement. Direction was still good. Wasn't my best strike. I'm going to hit one more of those. I'm sure I can do a little bit better. With any technical drill, you know, don't worry about the results, especially if the first few, if you've not tried the exercise for a while or maybe never. So as my arms finish, I'm just trying to feel like I actually press a little bit into this lead side. Now, the difference between the iron and the driver, I've talked about this in a video, so we'll put a link just here, is that with the irons, we want our lower body to bump forwards and we want our upper body, let's say our head for a second, our nose over the golf ball by the time we get into impact. Whereas with a driver, our lower body can go forwards and our head can be slightly back. Some of that is helped, or a lot of that is helped by the fact the ball's more forwards with a driver, right? And we're applying a little bit more pressure, a little bit more speed, a little bit more force, automatically the head will tilt. And we even start a little bit more behind it with a driver, whereas we're a little bit more over the ball with an iron. So all those things help. For me, the feel is very much the same. I still want to push down into that lead side. So good players, shift early. That felt great. Really felt like I shifted. And I'm very tall over my lead side. So my whole lead leg and just all in one long line over that lead leg. I'm not in this sort of position tilting away from the target. So if you want to get open at impact, you first of all learn how to shift your pressure laterally towards the target. It is a big part. The second bit is going to be about where your pressure is at impact in terms of your heel-toe balance. So to help me get open at impact, which is my body rotated, I want to feel like there is whatever is under my trail foot, which isn't a whole lot, right? There might be 80% over here, 20% here, but what is over there, I want to feel like it's more to the toe. What is under my lead foot, which is most of it, 80% of my pressure, I want it to feel more into the heel. A good 3/4 of that, 80% into the heel. Now that movement really helps me. Just look, start to rotate. You can start to see almost a gap between my knees. You can start to see my left hip almost pulling backwards. So that's that position we're really looking for. So I'm going to do one in a second. I'll show you on the force platform so you can see the numbers. But let me just do a little kind of quarter swing here. I definitely start small from a sort of delivery position here, and I'm just really going to feel like my pressure goes right toe, left heel, right toe, left heel. Most of it is into that left heel. And you can almost see here how straight my lead leg is, how much my toe is almost sticking up in the air there. So I'm really starting to feel it. I've always loved an exercise. You could do this through both feet. But I've always loved an exercise just using clubs on the floor with the club faces pointing down to the ground. And the grip's about about a foot apart, a bit more than a club's width, more like a foot apart. And if you stood on the grips, it's not going to damage the club, but you get a real sensation of where your pressure is, because as my pressure goes more into my lead heel, my lead toe will lift. So I can start to see where my pressure is as I make that movement. So that sort of exercise is great for, again, driving range practice area, to feel that pressure, the toe-heel balance I'm really looking for. Let me just do one more of those, a little quarter swing, feeling that pressure. Right toe, left heel. And again, pushed it a little bit. That strike was lovely. So may have to focus a little bit on the club face, but what I was really feeling was my body starting to open. When my body opens, it almost feels like my lead leg is snapping straight a little quicker. And that is a great sensation. Some people may feel, and I've done this with lessons, I'm almost behind them, pulling their lead hip behind them. What does that do with the lead leg? It's going to straighten it. It's going to snap it a little bit sooner. So many golfers we see at impact that aren't open still have a lot of flex in this knee. They haven't allowed this movement to happen. As my lead leg straightens, look how much my hips are starting to open. So most tour players, they're between sort of 20 and 45 degrees open with their hips at impact, and their torso is open by sort of 10 to 20 degrees. So we're starting to get their body open. With so many amateurs, we see their body pretty close to zero, pretty straight on. And because their body's not working they tend to get a little bit more active with the hands and arms, and that just can cause some inconsistency, right? I'm not saying you can't hit good shots from there. I'm talking about the quality over the time, over the period, the consistency of it. So I'm going to finish with trying to hit a full shot there and a bit of multitasking if I can. I'm going to feel like I shift early with a bump into my lead side, and then I'm going to focus on when my pressure is toe heel. Now, I'm not suggesting you need to take all that to the golf course. Use those drills, use those exercises, but I'm just going to see if I can multitask. Pressure into that lead foot with a bump. And then almost felt like I snapped that lead leg, rotated quicker. So I'm really trying to get quick. You've got to train for speed, haven't you? So that is a big speed power point of view. The same way, you know, that's not going to generate a lot of speed throwing a ball. As soon as we add some rotation and some snap in there, we triple, quadruple maybe our speed. So that felt good, you know, good carry distance, good total distance, and nice straight shot. A lot of people are worried that when they're going to hit it harder, they're going to lose accuracy. Well, maybe, but do you know that, right? You've got to train for it. You've got to try it in practice and see where you're best. I know that when I'm more committed, I actually hit the ball straighter. So I want you to give it a go. A course in practice first before you take these things to a golf course. But if you want to get open, you've got to think about that lateral shift, and you've got to think a little bit about that toe heel balance there as well into impact. And I know those points are going to help your game out. If that video has helped, hit the thumbs up, share it with as many golfers as you can, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more content just like this.